Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Del Sordo. I'm here with Mike Ficara, Chief Operating Officer of Brand Ethos. I went to high school with him as well. By the way, he's also how many things do you do, Mike? You're a classroom teacher, technology specialist, director of curriculum, the vice president of business development, and you have your own podcast. Mike, how's it going? You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I'm good. Jack of all trades, master of none, I guess would be the best best overview probably.
Oh, I guess so. But no, you definitely master of none. You definitely master all of them. You do very well at what you do. And of
Thank
course,
you.
you've been my boss on certain voiceover projects. So
Yes, yes.
we work together, and you've got. Tell me about Brand Ethos, though. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
it's, and it really and first off, thanks for having me on. It's such a great segue into even the voiceover work we've done together, right? I've had such a privilege to work in a variety of industries from education to we've done stuff in oil and gas, manufacturing, you name it. And I think you provided some great voiceover work with all those. And what Brand Ethos does is I've been consulting for a while now. As you mentioned, I used to be a teacher. And then after that, got involved in the whole startup world and have worked, consulting for various startups, working in various startups. But I tend to stay on the outside and help small to medium-sized businesses grow and scale. And what Brand Ethos does, and the unique thing about the partnership I have with Alicia, who's the CEO and founder of the company, is she focuses on marketing. And we're just an amazing, from corporate America, she does really base marketing. And so many of the businesses we work with, we come in, they're either doing like one of three things good. They're really good at marketing, or they're really good at sales, or they're really good at serving their customers, but they're never good at all three. And what we found is when we're able to come in and help them fire whatever one they're doing good, keep doing that. And then we come in and fill the gap on the other two and sort of help lift them up. And that's what really allows the businesses to grow or go to the next level. You mentioned the podcast too. I have the podcast called The Start Down because, I love their ideas. The start down is what happens when you actually get to work. So I interview a lot of entrepreneurs and have a lot of people that are on the podcast, and even some of my own experiences I share on my solo episodes that speak about that, right? How to go into your business, look at those three different areas of sales, marketing, and implementation of product, and how do you better serve your customers and let your business grow. So in kind of a nutshell, that's what I do in so many
well,
different
where can
industries.
people find your podcast?
Yeah, so no, great question. TheStartDown.com is the easiest way to find the podcast, and MikeFicara.com is the easiest way to find out a little bit about me. And I think it's something, we talked about the podcast. I think it's something every business should have. And we also help a lot of our businesses start podcasts so that they can also reach a larger audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I don't know if we can discuss this because this is this all ties in. Remember, the voiceover work I'm doing for the classroom, the
Yeah.
top score.
Top score writing. Yep.
Top score writing. That we started that how many years ago? And it's kind of perfect for what we're going through right now with everyone staying home. Everything is pretty much online at this point for so many parents and kids doing distance learning because of what we're going through.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I've been involved, and one of the reasons why I left the classroom was, in early 2010 when iPads were coming out and things like that, I saw the opportunity that was there, right? Because I said, we all said technology is going to revolutionize the classroom, and I remember there being this fear, like, but is technology going to replace the teacher? And this was everybody's big fear, was that like you said, top score writing, we created these great online interactive lessons. You did the voiceover work. You're actually the teacher. So you're currently teaching probably, thousands upon thousands of kids across the country.
That's
But
awesome.
but
I
the,
like to do
the
that.
the whole concept behind that is, though, the teacher's still so important. And I think one of the things that we're seeing right now with so many people learning from home is the importance of the teacher, and the
Mhm.
impact that they're having. I know even my kids are kidding around and saying, because I'm on calls all the time, and I always tell them I can't do that. I'm on a call. I'm on a call. They're like, "Well, Dad, I have a call today at 10:30 with my teacher." The role of the teacher is there, but the online learning and companies that were prepared for this and that had great online interactive content were able to have students step into that very quickly. But I know even with that, there was a big adaptation that happened. But it's amazing to see what some of the schools and districts have done, not just in Florida, but throughout the country that we work with. And in some cases, they've been able to utilize the lessons that we did create. But then we also created a whole second site called TSW Remote that is a password free. We're giving away the lessons. And Lisa, the owner of the company, and some of our other trainers are recording live lessons that they're putting out about 3 a week that people could go to and get that interaction with the teacher. So you have both those options, which has been really a great opportunity for so many students.
It really has, and I like that a lot. Now, I forgot to mention that you have like a family of 7, right? How many kids do you have now?
It's funny because I put them on on Facebook, on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn today that I was having another one, but I have four. It was an April Fool's joke. But yeah, four kids. So yeah, I have, and what's really neat is I have two older ones. So I have 12 and 9. So my middle schooler, sixth grade, he's rocking and rolling, and he's in a one-to-one iPad school. So for him, not much has changed, right? It's just like he's not at the school.
Right, and that's what I was just going to ask you too. How is this? I know you have older ones, so how
Yeah.
has this affected them?
Yeah, so the
Mhm.
older ones have been so much more like kind of like giddy up and go. My fourth grader a little bit less. They had a little bit less of the technology. Like he came home with the 50-pound backpack, walking like this when everyone says they were going to be at home. So he's doing some hybrid stuff between online. And then I have a 4-year-old. I'm sorry, a 3-year-old. He's going to be 4, and a 2-year-old. Now my 3-year-old is in pre-K, and he's getting on, and he has lessons he's doing at home. But with all of them, the unique thing has been to see kind of the different times at which they learn, right? Like my 9-year-old wakes up at 6 in the morning, starts his work, and he's done by like 9, 10 o'clock because he wants his day to be his own. Whereas my middle schooler tends to take his time a little bit. He likes to work a little bit more at night. So they've been able to adapt and learn in different times they've done, which I think that's such a neat opportunity about this. I think parents are like freaking out, like, well, I have to work all day. Like, how do I have my kids learn? Okay, well, if you got to work all day, let your kid play video games and go outside. And maybe then at 3 o'clock, it's better to have them start doing school. You can adapt in the different ways. And I think that's what we're going to see come out of this, is seeing how kids learn in so many different ways and giving them that opportunity.
Yeah, that's what's really very cool. Not very cool, obviously, about what we're going through, but everyone's getting very creative and seeing that they're thinking outside of the box. A lot of people would not have thought the way they are if we weren't going through what we're going through. So that's really been the good part of all of this. How has this really been affecting you personally with what you do with Mags Group?
It's funny. I think the biggest difference is like I don't get to interact with clients face to face as much. I mean, I live in this world, right? Like, so for me to be on a Zoom call or for me to do things remotely, I have clients throughout the country. It's not a big deal. I think the impact has been is in how do we react to this situation, right? Like what I would have told my clients to do last week versus this week is different, right? Or even 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was just on a call with a client that was supposed to have a book that was going to come out in April, and we're going to have the book launch, here in Florida, and we had all these things planned. And it's like, well, do we do a virtual book launch? Do we say anything? Do we not say anything? Do we do things? I think the biggest thing that for me, personally, the impact has been on business, and I think is I don't know yet, right? Like I think it's still a little too soon to tell. We know it's going to impact it. Fortunately, it's given me the opportunity to work a little bit closer with some clients and help some bit. I've had some businesses that didn't want to work with us in the past that are like, oh wow, we realize we need messaging. We realize we need help with social media because that's the only way, that's the only way we have to
Mhm.
communicate with our clients. Where like if you were a business where people were coming to your office and doing that, they were like, no, we don't need that. We don't need marketing. Now people are coming to us and saying that they need it, which is great. But I think it's too soon to tell for a lot of people. And I think people are reacting and being proactive, which is good. And you mentioned something, like you said, didn't want to say that it's cool that this is going on right now, right? Because it's not. It's a pandemic. People are dying. It's serious. So we don't know how to react to it. But I think there are some. We have to pull the good out of this, though, right? Like if we just focus on the negative, we have to pull the good out of this in certain areas. And I think if we're doing that, so I've been trying to do that in my business as much as possible. So have there been clients that need to scale back financially? Yes. I've had clients that had to cut their contracts by 50%, and I've been like, hey, whatever. And what I'm trying to say is whatever you guys need to do, I'm willing to do because I want to be with you in the long run. I think it's so important for so many businesses to understand that, we're all in this preservation mode, but I think if we all support each other and we look at it that way, and, if we got to take haircuts financially, or if we got to do different things, if we're willing to do that for the businesses we work with, we can end up being successful in the long run.
That's very true. I like that you mentioned that because that is very true. Instead of burning bridges and everything, you keep everyone together. And in the long run, you still have your clients. I like that a lot. So, on top of having baby number 5 on the way, what are some other things coming up for you?
That was
What
an
are
April
some
Fool's joke. So anyone catching this for today, there is no baby number
Oh,
5. I just want to be clear on
well,
that.
I didn't even know that was. Gosh, today is April Fool's.
Yeah.
April 1st. I've been dealing with this all day, dealing with different things, and I thank you for reminding me. It's
Yes,
April
yes,
Fool's.
yes, yes, yeah. My kids, I mean, they've been looking forward to this. So I've been pranked at least 3 or 4 times today. But I'm sorry, I didn't let you finish your question though, so I apologize.
No, no, that's okay. I just wanted to know what other new projects you have coming up because I know you always have something new and exciting. So I know that something's working up there. You've always you've always got
You can see the
the
smoke,
gears are
right? You
spinning.
can see the
Always.
smoke. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I haven't talked about it, so I guess I'll talk about it here. I do have a book that I'm working on. that I started working on before this. Actually, one of my clients is a ghostwriter, and he's also writing my book as well. So and he's written books for several of my clients. Even the client I was talking about the book coming out, Eli Gonzalez, the Godfather of Ghostwriting. He is currently writing my book. So that's kind of the project I'm working on right now. Is my book talking about I like talking about entrepreneurship and kind of it's meant to demystify entrepreneurship from the standpoint of I want to talk about the truths, right? Because I think and it's funny because we're going through this. It's so timely. So many people in entrepreneurship, like it sounds cool, right? Zuckerberg, all these guys, Bezos.
Right.
Like to me, like I think there's unsung entrepreneurs, right? Like you're a great example of an entrepreneur, right? Like you do voiceover work, you have your own business, but we don't look at like the smaller aspects of different things of what an entrepreneur really is. And it's funny because most of the business, and even Top Scorer is a great example, right? Like Lisa, she never would have classified herself as an entrepreneur, especially when she first met me. She's like, I'm just trying to figure it all out, but these are the people that are really winning compared to the people that like
Mhm.
say they're an entrepreneur on Facebook and like, I'm hustling and throw out all these cliche sayings. So I really want the book to speak to the truth of like what entrepreneurship is, how to, yes, there's sacrifice. Yes, you have to grind it out. Let's look past the keywords and the cliche sayings and look at what this really is. Can you have work-life balance? Can you do these different things? How do you know when you shouldn't sacrifice? So the book focuses on all that. And I wrote it on the aspect of which you met my father. My father's cliche sayings is what a lot of it's built on. So the book is probably going to be called like Socks on a Rooster, which will reveal itself when the book comes out. And then it's based on all the things my father would, one of the things about my father, he would always have these cliche sayings. And I would, as a kid, I would always think he made them up. And even my whole life, I thought he made them up. It wasn't until I started teaching and said them to my students that they're like, oh, I've heard that before. I'm like, really? My dad made that up. And they're like, no, he didn't. I was like, even as a 20-year-old, I still had this like picture of my father as being this great guiding light. So that's kind of the big project I have going on in the background. And then just like I said, helping my clients get through this ever changing time right now.
Yeah. So when do you think the book is coming out again?
I'm gonna say it's probably you're looking at like end of summer, so ready for that whole Christmas season moving in there. So I'll probably be wrapped on writing it by the end of summer, and then we're hoping to do some editing and clean up stuff like that. So probably right around Christmas time.
Nice. And probably so many books and stuff coming out from people sitting
Yeah,
at home
yeah,
not doing anything.
yeah, and I mean, it's a great, like I said, it's a great time for people to do that stuff, right? Because eventually you're gonna binge watch everything that Netflix has to offer. Um,
Seriously.
Right. And I think too, especially for people on the front lines of this, I really hope, and I'm sure they are, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, there's going to be such a story to tell that we're not seeing yet. And I'm really excited to see those come out, not from the standpoint of, like you said, people are dying. And when I say excitement, it's the same thing, right? We're looking at this, but like to learn from this, because this may not be the only time we go through this, and I think the lessons to be
Yep.
learned for humanity are great out of this. So I'm really looking forward to that. So,
This is quite something. This really is quite something.
yeah.
Um, you were mentioning all the people in the forefront, not just medical personnel, but let me tell you, the other day we went over to a few grocery stores and these
Yeah.
people are putting themselves on the line. A couple of them had to go home sick, but they're still there so that we can shop around and still buy toilet paper and paper towels and whatever else you need. And they're still there, which is so
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and it is, and obviously in Florida we have hurricanes. I know in the Northeast they have snowstorms. I think we're all used to a little bit of preparation mode. That part wasn't hard. What's hard for me, I think personally, that in dealing with this is like I'm used to like preparing, and then like you almost want to see like billowing smoke in the skyline or something. Like there's nothing like it's gorgeous outside. Like there's nothing disastrous happening, right? And it's so hard because it's like, and like you said, those workers, the dangers are so invisible.
Mhm.
Like you don't know if you're working in the supermarket, is that person walking through the door the danger that could get you sick? We can't see this thing, right? That there's nothing visual with it. Like we look outside, and if you didn't have a TV or phone, you would think, man, what a beautiful day. So that's the scariest thing for me, I think personally, in going through this is not, I keep, I feel like it's like that roller coaster just keeps ticking up. It hasn't dropped yet. And I'm like, the higher and higher it gets, the scarier and scarier I'm getting.
Seriously. I was having that whole discussion with my cousin in one of my first videos. And that the whole thing is when we have hurricanes, they're finite. You know it's going to end. Something huge is coming, and then it's gone in a few days. And the problem with this is we don't know if this is going to last through next year. We don't know if it's going to end in a week. We don't know if it's going to keep going for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's the scariest part.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
only on the personal side of everything, but of course on the professional side, businesses are freaking out, and
yeah.
rightfully so. And that's where all the creativity is coming from. What can I do? How can I do this? Is where I got the idea to do these videos. Everyone needs to find out what's happening with small businesses and what are teachers doing and what are different businesses doing. That's where I got that. Everyone's getting creative with this.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too for teachers is, and I will say that, we're working with schools and districts throughout the country. I have my own kids are going through this with the school that they attend. And I think it's important to remember too that the teachers themselves, right? We talk about teachers being unsung heroes all the time. But really, you think about it this time, there's teachers that are at home trying to teach everyone else's kids, and they're at home with their own kids. I mean, this is
Yep.
a whole level of complexity. And I think a lot of teachers aren't getting enough credit for what they're doing. I know a lot of people are saying, well, we went online and this didn't work and I can't find this. And, a lot of parents are frustrated, but I think it's also a time to sing the praise. If there's ever a time to sing a praise for teachers as well, I think they're not getting enough credit for, because they're trying to keep their house in order and then also keep your students, from a distance. That's tough, man. That's
Hmm.
really, really difficult. So, shout out and like you said, to educate, kudos. And if anyone listening to this, be patient with teachers, man, because they are doing above and beyond. They went above and beyond before. I mean, they're just in a whole nother stratosphere right now with the things they're doing. So
They really are. But, and not just teachers, of course, teachers as well, but with everyone, patience with everyone, because
yeah,
everyone's going through their own personal hell. They really are.
it
You
is.
don't know what's
Yeah.
happening behind the scenes. You have people who lost their jobs, and then you have people who still have to go to work and put themselves in front of this coronavirus, not knowing whether or not they're going to get it. Um, it's really something else what we're going through, but yeah, everyone's going to make it through it. I was talking to a doctor the other day. He was saying people shouldn't take it personally if you're losing your jobs.
Hmm.
You're not getting fired because you did something wrong. If a company can't pay you, they can't pay you. Um, I think a lot of people just need to keep the patience, and this will all work out. It will in the end. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else you want to add though regarding this, regarding
Yeah, and I
coronavirus?
think what you said is a great segue because a lot of people are losing their jobs, and I think you're such a prime example of this, right? You are such a talented person, and you've obviously worked, for news stations, you worked for companies, and you're really springing out on your own and started your own business even before this, right? Like that wasn't, but you went out into your own voiceover business a while ago. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that, right? I mean, so many people are like, well, I just, the comfort of my job and my job's there for me. And a lot of us are seeing that, no, your job's not always there for you, right? Like some people have gotten cut as soon as times got tough. But this may be the opportunity for some of you out there who are so talented, have so, have always wanted to say, can I go out and do this on my own? Now's the time to start doing it because A, you have the time, and B, the opportunity and the market is there. And sometimes, and listen, I've been fired from a job. It's the most stressful, depressing thing. They say it's worse than the death of a family member in some ways. The psychologists say the stress level, and I'm not a psychologist, but I read this on the internet, so it must be true. The stress level of losing a job or being fired from a job is the equivalent to that of losing a family member to death. And I think for a lot of us, we're going through that. And not only are you going through that, you don't have any of the outlets you normally would, the basketball field, the local bar to go to. But now may be the time for you to be an entrepreneur and start a business. So please don't be scared to do it. I mean, you're a great example of someone that's gone out and done it. And there's so many, people out there now. May be the time for you to start your own business and go chase your dreams. So go for it. You know.
Very true. Very, very. And I really thank you for that. Thank you very much. But that's very true. I never would have started something like this. I just went for it. This
Yeah.
isn't something I wanted to do. I did traffic for 14 years. I was behind the scenes. You only heard my voice, and I was very comfortable there. Not comfortable here.
You're doing a
but,
great job,
but
though. You're killing it. You're crushing it.
but thank you very much. Thank you. And but that's what we're going to see come out of this, and that's very true. That was great advice. Just go for it because that's what I did,
Yeah.
and that's what everyone should do.
Yeah. And you got nothing. What do you got to lose at this point, right?
Exactly, exactly. Really. And it's been a blessing in disguise. It's been a pleasure. It's let me tell you, I've had so much positive response from this. So people are very nice, as well. Very, very accepting. And this has been a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and I think if you are in business, tell your story. Now is the time for you to tell your story of why you started your business. Like I said, people are going to get tired of Netflix. Now's the time for you to get back to that inspiration. Especially, a lot of companies have been in business for a while and they've had to shut down. No one's ever heard their why. Your local pizza shop, your whatever it is. Tell your why. Your lawyer. Why'd you become a lawyer? Why'd you become a doctor? Why'd you do that? Now's the time to get on social media like this and tell your story. It's a great opportunity to do that if you already are in your own business and not doing that. So
I like that. I really like that, Mike. Thank you very much.
no,
You want
no,
to
thank
let
you.
people know where to find you and everything, where they can
Yeah,
find
yeah,
you?
just very easy. Mike Ficara on all social media, at Mike Ficara on all social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then MikeFicara.com. That's MikeFicara to learn more about me. And like I said, definitely reach out, connect. I love connecting, and I love, and obviously got to get you on my podcast soon as well, so that we can, I could ask you questions. I'm used to asking all the questions, so this is very unnatural for me.
Yes, I would love to do that. That would be fun. That'd be great. This is
Yeah.
unnatural. You're a pro. You're definitely a pro because you've said it all honestly, and you've given great advice. So thank you very much. Can't thank you enough. You can see this on my YouTube channel when I go ahead and post our video. I'll have it up on all my social media sites. I have ericadelssordo.com where you can find all my social media sites. And I really thank you again, Mike, very much. Anyone else who wants to do this, you can email me at ericadelssordo1@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day. Thank you again, Mike.
Thank you.